Hello Stampers, my name is Linda Bedinger and I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator in Denver, Colorado, and this is my buddy Puccini. He helps me and keeps me company in the craft room, and we have a very pretty card for you today, and it's a Sending Hugs card, and I'm using a new suite, for me anyway. It's the Splendid Day Suite, and I'll just put him down here. He's getting to be quite a load. And we'll just get started. Here is my card, and I hope that is not giving off too much of a shine, but it's copper. And this paper that I'm using here comes from this Splendid Day packet of 12 by 12 paper. And it all is foiled, and it is just really pretty. There are lots of patterns on this paper, and some of it is backed in copper. This one is like soft sea foam. This one is got a silvery background, and they're double-sided. This one is got kind of a crumb cake background. This on the back side has these leaves in kind of pool party and this soft green. This has kind of a rose color to it, and there it's probably freesia, and then it's got this freesia small color background on the back. Then there is this paper, which is one of those that has this same pattern on both sides. I cut mine in half, and on the back side of this paper is this design, which is Calypso Coral, I think. And so it's really pretty paper, very shiny, and then all of the embossing on these papers is white. And then there is the actual color of the paper. And let's see what it says are the coordinating colors. Calypso Coral, which is this background paper, Copper, Fresh Freesia, Petal Pink. So that's the other pink that's back here. Petal Pink, Pool Party, Sahara Sand, and Soft Seafoam. So this, I think, is supposed to be a Sahara Sand background, and then this backside is done in Sahara Sand, but it's almost a silvery looking paper, and it just gorgeous paper. And let me show you the stamps and the dies that go with this. This is the stamp set, and it is called Splendid Thoughts, Sending Hugs. That's the one I'm using today, and I just did one today that was a wedding card for somebody, and I put Let's Celebrate on the inside and on the outside, and then Much Love and Your New Life Together on the inside. And isn't that just gorgeous? And so I used, let's see, I used this stamp and Sending Hugs for this one, and then I used this paper that has this big long design on it, and I used a piece of it on the front, and I used a smaller piece of it on the inside, and then I used copper embossing powder to do this leaf, and then that die is this one and cuts this out, and that's how I got these. And then I used my soft seafoam blends to add a third color here. And it's very simple. And the embellishments that I used were the elegant, I can't think of the name of them, but I'll grab them out here in just a second. Okay, what it takes to make this card, I have a card base that is 5.5 by 8.5, scored and folded at 4 1/4. And then I have a couple of pieces of this beautiful paper, Here's a bigger piece of it. This is 6 inches of it by roughly 12, and it's just such beautiful paper. So I cut a piece of that. Let's see here. I've got a couple pieces. I've got a piece that is 1 1/4 inch by 4 3/4 of an inch, and then this matting piece to go on the back of it is 1 1/2 inches by 5, and that will mat this piece for the front of the card. Then I've cut another piece for the inside of this card that is 3/4 of an inch by 5 1/4 to go on the inside of the card. Then you need a couple pieces of basic white scrap, and that is to cut out these leaves. And what I did was I used this stamp in Versamark on white cardstock, and I did 3 of those images. And then after using my embossing buddy, and then I put those on here in Versamark, and then I used my copper powder, and we'll do one of those to show you. But you just need a couple of pieces of scrap to cut these flowers out, and you need a small piece of scrap for your sentiment here, and that is it. So very simple card. The embellishments that I used for this card were the elegant faceted gems. I just love these. And I used one of these milky ones here on the inside. I thought it picked up the copper pretty well. And then I used these whiter opaque ones because I thought it matched the white in this embossing on the copper paper. The other thing I did, this piece of copper is 4 inches by 5 1/4. And I've already run mine through my embossing folder, and I used this one into the clouds embossing folder. I thought it added just a very interesting dimension, like all of these flowers were floating. And so I've already run mine through the embossing powder. Didn't that come out pretty? I just love the way that looks. So that is the other piece that you need. All right, so I think we are ready to start assembling because I've already stamped, embossed, and cut my little pieces to save a little bit of time. So I've got my flowers here, and I should have 3 of them. I do. And we are going to cut some of them off, and I think I'm going to put a few more on the inside on this one. But this is basically the material you need. Now, once this piece is embossed, then what we're going to do is go ahead and add our seal to the back of this. And because this piece is embossed, we want to make sure we get plenty of glue on this one because of those uneven surfaces, to make sure that it sticks down really well. And in fact, I'm going to run a little bead all the way across the top here. All right. And so what we're going to do is center this piece on the front of our card. There we go. And glue that piece down. Isn't that pretty? That's pretty just the way it is. And then these 2 pieces of card and this piece of designer series paper can go ahead and get glued together. So I'm going to add my seal, center this on my mat, and then this piece I did put up on dimensionals. All right, this piece is ready to go on our card, and I put that in about 1/2 inch from the edge because I wanted us to see some of that beautiful embossing on both sides of this panel. Let's see, we're going to take our pieces here and we're going to go ahead and color those. I'm going to bring down a piece of scratch paper here and put these 3 pieces down. And there's nothing special about this coloring. I used the light soft seafoam to color my leaves, and I just scribble colored the leaves, and then I went back over a couple of them to use the darker color on so that there was variation in the leaves. So there are my leaves done. Now on this first one that I put on the top, I just trimmed off this stem here at the bottom and kind of rounded that corner a bit, and then made sure I stuck that right on here. So I only needed dimensional on this side and a little bit of snail on this side. So I'm going to add my seal on that side and a dimensional on this end, and then we can go ahead and put that one in place. And I came all the way across the bottom and just slightly off there. I am going to cut on this one. I'm going to cut the bottom 2 and the stem off. So I have these 2 pieces, and I will trim that up because these I'm planning to use on the inside. And there we go, those are all trimmed. And on this one, I took off the top 2 leaves, so I am going to trim that one and then trim around this leaf over here like that, and that way we've got those 2 pieces that we can add on the inside. All right, now I don't need this stem on this next one that I'm going to add, and I want to tuck it underneath here. I may want to tuck that underneath this dimensional too. Let's see if I can lift that up a little. Might be able to do that. And I'm going to add some snail on the back of this piece so that I can just slide that in under here and get that coming out at the top. And then it looks like I'm going to have to replace that. Oh, maybe not. See if that dimensional will go back in there. It will. Very good. Okay, so now I've got this other little leaf detail here, and I'm going to put those in so that they come across here as well. And or maybe we should do that down here. I'm thinking they might be better down here. Okay, so on this one, I'm just going to add some seal to the back of this piece so that I can put that in place right down here and curl that up around those flowers there, or the leaves. And these leaves, because they're so different from the copper, it adds a third color, if you will. So the white, the copper, and then this beautiful soft seafoam. And then for my sending hugs, what I did was I used a piece of scrap, and I put my sending hugs here, and I'm going to go ahead and let's see, use my embossing buddy here because I did that in the copper, and use my Versamark and get my sending hugs put right down here, and then my copper embossing powder, which I'm just going to, let's see, I think I can just stick this in the powder. Yep, I can. And take off that excess powder there. Now I might want to stamp that again. I think I'll come around to this edge because I like having that edge there. And I'm going to do that again and see if I can do that without getting an edge on this. All right, let's see how I did. Much better. No edge on that one. So that's the end we're going to use. And I will put my embossing powder away and get my heat tool, and I'll quiet the video while I set this. Okay, so there is my sentiment, and what I'm going to do is use my trimmer to cut this little piece off here. And what I did, oh, that's quite a bit bigger than this one. I think I'm going to trim, oh, just a hair off of both edges of that. Okay, so that's what I ended up taking. So this piece ends up being right at 1 inch by 2 inches. So you can start out by cutting your piece 1 inch by 2 inches and then do your stamping, and you should be pretty good. Now, I got a little different kind of a banner end here on this one, and what I did was, I have an old Stampin' Up! Stamp. This one is 1.5 inches, and what I did was I stuck this in till I could see both of those corners, and then I backed it up so that one end of the circle was at each end of one of those corners. And I just took that edge off, and it gave me that cute little rounded edge. You could probably do this if you had a big enough corner rounder, but this worked for me. And that I wanted to stick in here, maybe covering up a few of those flowers, but tucking this in here at a little bit of an angle here and putting my sending hugs message. And in fact, it looks like I need to trim that a little bit closer. So I'm going to take 1/8 inch off of that to end up coming right up against the edge of this piece here and not be too high up. I think that's going to work just fine. Okay, so I'm going to add some seal to the back of this little tag that I made. And I'm going to set that right inside here a little bit at an angle and get that put in place. And there we go. There's our sending hugs message. All right. And I can see that I put this one at a bigger angle. So this is one that if I were to turn this a little bit like this, then I could get that leaf to come up over the top. Then on the inside, something I did on this that I don't often do is I have my 2 flowers here, is I didn't put an extra layer on the inside of this one. And that's real unusual for me. But I thought it worked. So I'm going to add some adhesive to this piece. and get that put into place on my card here, giving myself a little bit of a margin right along this edge. I guess we don't always have to have extra layers on there. And then I'm going to trim off part of this stem because I don't think we need that much of it. So like that. And I'm going to add some adhesive to the back of that. And I'm going to put that piece right down here. And then I've got that other little piece of flower that we've got here, and add some adhesive to it and put it in place right over the top of that. It felt a little bit more substantial than this one with just the two little pieces here at the bottom. So you really could cut another whole thing and put half of a sprig up here if you chose to do that. But there is my project for the day. Now the only thing I have left to do is add some bling. And the bling I chose to use was these faceted gems, elegant faceted gems. And what I did was I used the opaque ones here. These are clear. These have that kind of milky, I don't know, it picks up pinks, and in this case it picked up the copper really well. And then these that are almost, they're almost an opaque white, and I thought that they worked particularly well with the white embossing on this little strip. So I used a couple of the big ones in here. In fact, on this piece I used 3 of the big ones, but I think on this one I can use a smaller one right down in here. And then I used one of these, this color, right in here on my sentiment. And I thought that dressed it up just enough. I think this one came out just so pretty. And I know you're supposed to have odd numbers, but honestly that feels like just enough. We'll count it as 3 on that one and only 1 on that. Anyway, that is my project for the day. Thank you so much for stopping by my YouTube channel today. I do so appreciate it. And if you don't already have a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator, well, I'd love to be your demonstrator. Or you could join my team. And the joint offer this time is the $125 worth of product for $99, which is the normal deal. And then there is a planner. I think it's 8.5 by 9 inches. And it's an 18-month calendar, and it's got the pages and the dividers and the stickers and just about anything you'd want to have in a planner, and it's beautiful. Then there's also a 28 stamp set that goes with that, and so it's quite a nice set. My prize draw for a month is a $60 shopping spree on me, and you get yourself in the drawing by putting an order of any size on my store, lbedinger.stampingup.net, and you can get to it through my blog, www.inkingenuity.com. I do have my new section up on my blog where I'm selling off Retired, and we've got, I think, almost 30 pages of stuff up there right now. People are finding it, and they are buying some, and so you want to look back often because she's adding, Debbie, my assistant, is helping me, and she's adding a page or 2 almost every week. So there will be more, and I don't think she started on the new catalog stuff, so the one that just retired. So we will have a bunch more up there as time goes on. Well, again, that's it for me, and I will be back soon with more cards, more projects, and more tips. I'm going on a family vacation, so there won't be a video on Friday, so I'll see you next Tuesday. Bye.